no movement. It was not an interview. It was not a political thing. It was a thing that a generous man took time out of his busy schedule to sit down with my two daughters, my son, and my nephew.
We look forward to your leadership and the leadership of Senator Kamala Harris.
And I'm so honored that he took the time to come down here to Kentucky and give us this push over the finish line. So it is my great pleasure to introduce to Bath County, Kentucky, Vice President Joe Biden.
Good to be back in Kentucky.
Can I be completely honest with you? No bull.
Be nice. My daughter's here.
That was your daughter with her arm up the cow?
Guys like me don't know how to talk to guys like you. Do you have a bottle opener?
No, it's just a twist.
Twist off? Yeah, I know.
Maybe he does need a bottle.
Maybe use your vest.
I think it was, part of it had to do with, I had spent every day for so long on The Daily Show kind of doing the weather, kind of talking about the individual moments of either corruption or stage managing or all those things as they were happening. And I think when I got done, it was that feeling of like, why is it raining every day? And should we step back and maybe look at the weather systems like climate science? It's sort of the difference between doing the weather and doing the climate, a portrait view and a landscape view. And I think that was the idea, is to create a film that you think is the portrait view and reveals itself to be the landscape view. And hopefully in that moment of reveal is a moment of maybe consideration that you can think back and go, yeah, why do we allow a system ostensibly designed for the public good to be so corrosive to that end?
I am telling you guys, Jack could be the real deal. This little campaign of ours has caught the attention of the National Republican Party. Why are you here?
Because crushing the last piece of hope in your eyes really gets me off. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
You look fat. I'm gonna make a big deal of this.
It's on here, boys. Game on.
I don't know. I wish I was a better sort of long range planner. I kind of take it as it comes. I've always sort of done that whatever kind of either pops up right in front of me or an idea that I have that I'll try and pursue. But I imagine it'll always be infused with kind of those same elements because it does tend to be what I'm interested in. I'm really interested in kind of deconstructing systems to see how their component parts work together to create either good outcomes or bad outcomes or outcomes you can't control. I've always been interested in that.
This is the A-Team. All you have is fear.
$20 says I do better with fear than you do with shame.
The Democrat Party can't win. They're getting desperate. This is really just another perfect example of the DC elite trying to dictate how we should live.
That's we. You're DC elite.
Oh, no, actually, I'm from here. I'm from Deer Lacken.
I hope so. I mean, that's really where I feel like I've spent so much time as an observer that you hope to kind of pitch it at the right, level and temperature. It's like anything else, any kind of recipe that you're trying to give it just a little bit of that cayenne pepper that's going to give it some bite, but still be in the realm of, yeah, that is a really nice summation satirically of what I think is wrong with that type of reporting or that type of announcing.
Unless it turns out that this town isn't the Mayberry everybody thinks it is.
We're the good guys, right?
Yeah, we're the good guys.
When they go low,
we go high.
Unless we also need to go low, apparently.
Only to keep those who would go lower out of power.
So when they go low, we go higher incrementally in relation to how low they went.
Regrettably.
Today we don't have a problem with agreements, we have a problem with implementation of these agreements, and I do believe it's a good momentum to use American goodwill to make a pressure to both sides, not only to sign, but to implement agreements. If we discuss about railways, if we discuss about highway, if we discuss about aviation, we signed, and we had a dialogue about those topics, but implementation is a problem. That's why I think the benefits for both sides, business community in Serbia and Kosovo, will be positive in different dimensions. But again, we should try to use American goodwill and European goodwill to make a pressure not only to sign, but to implement agreements. We need to build a future, and future is exactly economy, education, and dialogue between neighbor countries. And I do believe psychological dimension is very important to have those agreements, because perception about Southeast Europe is very bad, perception about Kosovo and Serbia is very bad, and I think based on the fact that those agreements will be signed in White House in America, I think the psychology regard to Western Balkan will be much more positive.
Interestingly enough, after Minister Society, I wasn't getting offers. The person who was getting the offers was Tyron Turner, who played Kane, because the movie was about him and he was the star of the movie. So, there weren't a lot of offers for me at the time.
I just felt that it was time for me to kind of share a little bit more about who I am, my experiences, both coming from Chicago and also being raised in both Chicago and Los Angeles in California, and being in the industry for, 3 decades. I just thought it would be a great time to share my story and my experiences, the things that I've learned along the way. And, it really, a lot of things that really helped shape me in being the person that I am, that you're speaking to.
I found myself saying, but in movies, I'm doing this movie, Dead Presidents, and I'm working with the directors and the filmmakers, and the experience is different. I'm not in a box.
I don't think that I'm underrated. I think I'm undervalued in Hollywood. And I think a lot of Black folks are undervalued, who put in the work, who put in the time, who are certainly undervalued. And, I see that there's in mainstream Hollywood, if you will, you can see actors from the 80s and the 90s, and you hadn't seen them in 10, 15, 20 years, can find a way to resurrect their career again. You know what I mean? There's always a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth leg and chance to get on that journey again. And you may mention about some of the people that start out with me. We don't get that many opportunities. We don't get that many chances. And a lot of it is because I don't feel as though we as a whole are valued.
I feel like my voice is heard as an actor in film. And if you look at my TV performances and things versus my movie, there's difference. I think they're light years. They're different.
Well, there are certainly there's so much more inclusion and diversity now. But we're in 2020. We've been saying this, and we've been chanting, and we've been saying this and been knocking on for a long time. And so that now that we're here and we're seeing it, it's great. But it needs to be sustained. It doesn't need to be just a flash in the pan. Like, okay, give them enough to quiet them down, but not enough to sustain anything. And usually that's what happens. that's just kind of what, what we're dealing with, right? Whether it's in the industry or I feel like in America in general.
Because I felt like my truth was being with directors who understood me, who trusted me, and we did not have to do things to make middle America feel comfortable with us in their homes every week.
I don't think we use them as a barometer as to what we deem a classic. We're not looking for white approval or anybody outside of our, community for approval of what we deem classic. We decide what that is. And that's the top value of all. It doesn't matter what mainstream Hollywood or anybody that is not Black, see our films. I'm not really concerned about that. What I'm concerned about is how we decide what is classic. And that is the standard and that is the value.
I read the script and I thought it was dope. I thought it was something different. The fact that it's a story that we don't get a chance to tell often enough. Young folk in love, and they happen to be Black people, beautiful Black people in love. And I felt like my truth was being with directors who understood me, who trusted me, and we did not have to do things to make middle America feel comfortable with us in their homes every week. I'm gonna go do movies.
I just felt that it was time for me to kind of share a little bit more about who I am, my experiences, both coming from Chicago and also being raised in both Chicago and Los Angeles, in California, and being in the industry for 3 decades. I just thought it would be a great time to share my story and my experiences. I don't think that I'm underrated. I think I'm undervalued in Hollywood. And I think a lot of Black folks are undervalued, who put in the work, who put in the time, who are certainly undervalued. And, I see that there's in mainstream Hollywood, if you will, you could see actors from the 80s and the 90s, and you hadn't seen them in 10, 15, 20 years, can find a way to resurrect their career again. You know what I mean? There's always a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth leg and chance to get on that journey again. We don't get that many opportunities. We don't get that many chances. And a lot of it is because I don't feel as though we as a whole are valued.
Tasha St. Patrick, you're under arrest for the murder of James St. Patrick. Hurry, listen to me. Go to school. Live your life.
Man, to be honest, it's still kind of unreal to me. We've been filming since October last year, but it's just damn, now that we're doing all the press stuff and, the stuff, more stuff is being released to the public and we're getting closer to air, and it's just damn, it's just unreal. Honestly, I don't know what to say about it. It's just I don't know, man. It's definitely a surreal feeling to me. I'm blessed. I couldn't be more thankful. It's crazy.
Your Honor, James St. Patrick was a monster of untold proportion. Maybe your father. He was a complicated man.
He's obviously doing his own thing now, but he was always supportive to me. So he definitely reached out to me and he was like, yo, it's a big responsibility now. I did it for 6 years and I feel like you could do it as well. So he just gave me some certain type of tips to just stay level headed. And as far as even when things get a little hard, you just gotta get through it and just, stay focused. But honestly, as far as the character goes, he definitely helped me a lot because now you're going to see a lot of similarities between Tariq and Ghost, because now he has to be in school and then he's also in the streets as well. So it's kind of like Ghost, Ghost was in the streets and he was running the club. So you see the two different switches between them for sure.
Ma, we need to get you a lawyer.
What I need is for you to concentrate on school.
Davis McLean, I want to hire you.
500K. You get that? We'll talk.
Tariq, get your mom to tell the truth.